Stop blaming Apple for price hikes. Seriously. If you're angry about paying $1,299 for a MacBook Air instead of $1,099, you need to understand what's happening behind the scenes. Here is the counterintuitive truth that the headlines won't tell you. Apple is begging the US government to let them buy Chinese chips. The company has been lobbying the Trump administration for more than a month. They want approval to buy memory chips from Changxin Memory Technologies, CXMT, China's largest DRAM manufacturer. CXMT is on the Pentagon's blacklist, the 1260H list, alleged ties to the Chinese military. But here's the problem. Memory prices have quadrupled over the past 3 quarters. Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron have diverted capacity to AI data centers. Apple just raised Mac and iPad prices by $100 to $500. The stock plummeted 6%, its worst day since April 2025. $263 billion in market value wiped out. Apple says they have never seen a component price increase this much, this quickly. Let me break down the entire saga, and stay until the end for the 3 secrets that will change how you view Apple's supply chain crisis. I'll admit something, when I saw MacBook prices jump $200, I was annoyed. Apple is greedy, I thought. Then I read the Financial Times report, and I realized, Apple is caught between a rock and a hard place. Today, I'm going to break down the entire CXMT saga. By the end, you will understand why your next Apple device might cost more, and why Apple is desperate for a solution. Let's start with the problem. The memory crisis. AI data centers are consuming massive amounts of high-bandwidth memory. Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron have redirected wafer capacity from consumer DRAM to HBM for AI. The result? DRAM prices surged as much as 98% in Q1 2026. LPDDR5X memory costs went from $77 in Q1 2026 to $146 in Q2 2026, an 89% jump in a single quarter. Memory contract prices surged more than 100% in the first half of 2026. The term, analysts have dubbed this, Armageddon. The consequence? Apple can no longer shield customers. Tim Cook called it a 100-year flood unlike anything he had seen in over 4 decades. The counterintuitive truth, the AI boom is causing consumer electronics to get more expensive. The very technology that's supposed to make our lives better is making our devices cost more. Now let me show you the impact on your wallet. The Apple price hikes effective June 25, 2026. MacBook Air 13-inch went from $1,099 to $1,299, a $200 increase. MacBook Pro 16-inch went from $2,499 to $2,999, a $500 increase. MacBook Neo went from $599 to $699. iPad Air 11-inch went from $599 to $749. iPad Pro 11-inch went from $999 to $1,199. Vision Pro got a $500 increase. Apple's statement: they have never seen a component price increase this much, this quickly. The stock market reaction: Apple shares fell more than 6% on the day of the price increases, their worst single-day drop since April 2025. Approximately $263 billion in market value was wiped out. The counterintuitive truth: Apple, the most valuable company in the world, cannot absorb these costs. If Apple can't shield customers, no consumer electronics company can. Now let me explain Apple's solution. The target: Changxin Memory Technologies, CXMT, China's largest DRAM manufacturer. The problem: CXMT is on the Pentagon's 1260H list, the list of companies with alleged ties to the Chinese military. The distinction: the 1260H list carries reputational risk, but no legal restrictions on private companies doing business. The entity list would require a license to buy. Licenses are almost never granted. What Apple wants: a guarantee that CXMT will not be added to the entity list. The history: in February 2026, the Pentagon briefly removed CXMT and YMTC from the list, then withdrew the update within an hour after White House backlash. In June 2026, both companies were reinstated. The counterintuitive truth: Apple is not currently barred from buying CXMT chips. But they won't risk a relationship that could be cut off by a single regulatory decision. They need certainty before committing. Now let me show you the opposition. The quote from Congress: Apple choosing to partner with a Chinese military company would be a grave mistake. John Moulinar, Republican chair of the House China Committee. His argument: helping China dominate critical supply chains will make our country's tech industry and economy more dependent on China. The historical context: this isn't Apple's first rodeo. In 2022, Apple considered buying chips from YMTC, another Chinese memory maker. Marco Rubio warned Apple was playing with fire and would face scrutiny like it has never seen from the federal government. The current status: CXMT and over 100 other companies were approved for the entity list by an interagency committee last year. But the Commerce Department has been delaying implementation to avoid escalating tensions with China. The counterintuitive truth: the Commerce Department could drop CXMT on the entity list at any moment. That uncertainty is exactly what Apple is trying to eliminate. Let me leave you with the 3 secrets that connect everything we just discussed. Secret 1: the 1260H versus entity list trap. Most people think a Pentagon blacklist means a company is banned. It's not. 1260H is a warning sign. Entity list is the real weapon. Apple is trying to prevent the weapon from being aimed at CXMT. Secret 2: the price pass-through reality. Apple is not raising prices because they're greedy. They're raising prices because component costs have quadrupled. The alternative is profit margins collapsing. Secret 3: the China dependency paradox. Apple wants to reduce dependency on Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron by using CXMT. But CXMT is Chinese, which creates geopolitical dependency. Apple is swapping one dependency for another. So what should you actually do with this information? If you own Apple stock, the memory crisis is real. Apple is doing what they can. If they get CXMT approval, margins improve. If not, price hikes continue. Watch the Commerce Department. Watch for entity list updates. If you are a consumer, expect higher prices on all consumer electronics, not just Apple. Memory costs are up over 100%. Everyone is passing it on. If Apple can't shield you, neither can Samsung, Dell, or HP. If you follow US-China policy, this is a test case. If Apple gets approval, other US tech companies will follow. If Apple is blocked, expect more price hikes and supply chain pain. Here is my question for you. Do you think the US government should let Apple buy chips from CXMT, or is that a national security risk? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. Like and subscribe if you want more analysis on Apple, the semiconductor industry, and the companies reshaping global supply chains. I'll see you in the next video.